Hey Saucies, so I just wanted to get on here really quickly and make a response video to our friend Kia Rowan, who made a video entitled "The Exotical Space is a Mess." And in this video, she starts off with a clip, looks like something from the 1970s, of a light-skinned woman who appears to be about 35 or maybe 40 years old. And the lady is talking about how nice it is to be regarded as beautiful. And the woman is an ambiguous light-skinned woman. And she was saying that in the clip that Miss Kia Rowan showed was that it's nice to be regarded as pretty. And if you are called, it's not, she said basically it's not too important, but it's an extra plus if people think that you are pretty. And then her video started, and then she went on to talk about how the exotical space is pretty much like there are people who infiltrate the space and talk about their experiences. But she mentioned the experiences are more or less when people are bragging. And what I took from it was that she thinks that a lot of exoticals are bragging about benefiting from colorism. That's kind of what I picked up from her first talking point. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about that. So in her video, she basically just talks about how the exotical space is. She doesn't really say which content creator she's talking about or which particular video she's talking about. She just kind of gives it like a generalization, makes a generalization about the exotical space, and saying that pretty much that exoticals like benefit from colorism or something like that, and we act as if that black women can't be exotic too. That's also what I got from her video. So correct me if I'm wrong, because I want to make sure I got this right. But I don't know. Like I said, I remember Chrissy's channel. I first started watching her channel in 2012. That is when I first discovered Chrissy's channel. Just with I guess the same goes for a lot of exoticals too. At least Exoticals United said the same thing. I don't know what year she discovered the channel, but she was an avid listener to Chrissy's content too. But I remember in 2012, Chrissy started out talking about celebrity news and black men who were dusty and interracial relationships and things like that. But around 2013, she switched her channel to a colorism channel. And she only wanted dark-skinned black women to be in that space because she said that light-skinned women just don't get it. We don't get the colorism conversation. We don't know what they're talking about. We don't experience it. And she told us to just acknowledge our privilege and acknowledge the fact that we as light-skinned, mixed-race, biracial, MGM women, to acknowledge our privilege and just admit that we benefit from colorism. And there was also a light-skinned content creator during that time. Her name was Isadora Storm. She used to talk about divestment and the swirling movement when that first came about. And Isadora Storm mentioned that she liked Asian men. And so Isadora Storm tried to come up with like a counter argument to defend light-skinned women, because light-skinned women were pretty much painted with the same brush. There was no, hey, some light-skinned women do this, or at times I heard some say that. No, it was basically all of us are colorists, all of us are stuck up, all of us think that we're better than dark-skinned black women, all of us are like that. So a lot of light-skinned women who were listeners of Chrissy just kind of got upset, like, what the hell, what's going on? I'm not colorist. I love our dark-skinned sisters. And there was a lot of light-skinned guilt going on, a lot of like, what is going on? What is happening kind of a reaction. And every time someone who was light-skinned would get in Chrissy's space or get into the comments, because they were subscribers at the time, they would comment as a response. Chrissy would get, I know when I commented as a response, Chrissy had an answer for it. She's basically like, all of you are like that. All of you know you have privileges, and all of you have this and have that. And you have it better than darker-skinned women. So she wasn't hearing anything that we had to say. She didn't want us to talk about colorism with them. They didn't want a conversation. It was just one-sided. It was not a real conversation. It was just them taking digs at light-skinned women, telling us to acknowledge our privileges, get out of their spaces, and acknowledge colorism. Well, we are certainly acknowledging that colorism exists, and we acknowledge that we have different experiences than unambiguous dark-skinned black women. Actually, unambiguous dark-skinned black women, that term came from Chrissy's channel, as well as the ambiguous black women. That came from Chrissy's channel also, just like the term exoticals did. So Isadora Storm, when she tried to defend light-skinned women, all of Chrissy's listeners got together and flagged her channel and got her channel removed. So she just kind of gave up because it was like dark-skinned black women were not trying to hear it. They were trying to play this little thing where, like, I mean, I know that there's colorism, but the thing is that a lot of dark-skinned people, or the BWE spaces in particular, they really didn't want to hear our perspective on colorism at all because they felt like we could not relate to it. And that may be true in a lot of cases. So that is why when Exoticals United started her channel, her messages really resonated with a lot of biracial, mixed race, light-skinned women in general, because she added a new nuance to the colorism conversation. She was able to use psychology and like point out inferiority complexes that a lot of people had who engaged in that conversation, and she was able to analyze why there was so much resentment and vitriol directed toward biracial, mixed race, and light-skinned women coming from the BWE spaces. Now, me personally, when I first heard Chrissy going in on light-skinned women and talking about how we're all colorists and we all benefit from colorism and all of those kind of, like, you know, all the isms, the texturism, featureism, colorism, stuff like that, I felt an enormous amount of guilt just for being light-skinned. And I've always had a deep appreciation for dark-skinned women. I always was raised with that. My mom had African features, but she was very light-skinned and she had 4C hair. And my mother would always say, you know, look at all these beautiful dark-skinned black women, and these black men are choosing these white women and getting with these light-skinned women and stuff, and they overlooking these dark-skinned black women. And dark-skinned black women are pretty or prettier or whatever. She didn't put down light-skinned women, but she was talking about interracial relationships and the reason why a lot of black men would choose lighter-skinned women over darker-skinned women. Like, my mom was up on the reasons why a lot of darker-skinned black men chose to date lighter and marry lighter, because they wanted women that had a proximity to whiteness. So my mom taught me that when I was very little. So when I was little, I was very strongly black identified, like a lot of exoticals used to be. I know I personally was called the militant midget. Couldn't nobody tell me nothing about black people. You'd start talking about black people, I would check the hell out of you. I wouldn't give a fuck who you were. But I had an internalized beauty standard that was not what was a reflection of myself in the mirror. I always had this internalized beauty standard of an unambiguous dark-skinned black woman. Secretly, I wanted to be darker skinned. And you have a lot of light-skinned women who struggle with that, who want to kind of like marry darker skinned men or breed with like a darker skinned men to breed out the light skin, because they have so much self-hate and so much light skin guilt. So when Exoticals United made her channel, that kind of helped me see just how beautiful I am, because I am not an unambiguous dark-skinned black woman. I am an ambiguous light-skinned woman, and I have a very fluid phenotype and 3C hair, and it's very thin, and I got my hair from my dad. So when Exoticals United made her channel, she helped me to recenter the proper internalized beauty standard, where I would, pedestalize my own beauty. I pedestalize my own phenotype, and I see the beauty in that phenotype, because that is what I look like. I look like I could pass for biracial. I look like I am mixed race. I have an ambiguous look. I've shown my picture on this channel and EU's channel several times, shown what I look like. But I don't owe anybody a picture of myself. I don't owe anybody my identity. I don't have to be beautiful and drop dead gorgeous every single day of the year in order to be able to love what I look like, or uplift women that look like me. I don't owe that to anybody. None of the exoticals do, especially since we are talking about things that are triggering to people, and people have actually had the nerve to give threaten us, especially Exoticals United. Even Chrissy herself doesn't show herself. She's not. I've actually seen a picture of her when Rashida Strober doxed Chrissy. Chrissy is not the darkest of the dark. She's not the darkest of the dark-skinned women. It doesn't mean that she shouldn't be talking about colorism. She definitely should, if that's her experiences. But light-skinned women needed a place where they could go. Light-skinned, biracial, mixed-race women needed a place where they could go to talk about their experiences, because we have two different experiences. We needed to uplift our beauty and uplift what we look like. And no, every single light-skinned woman is not going to have the European beauty standard like Tiny. Tiny is very beautiful in her own way. Halle Berry is very beautiful in her own way. Yes, they have two different phenotypes, but that doesn't mean both women can be beautiful. It is not about the exotical space. It's not about who's the most beautiful. And a lot of unambiguous dark-skinned Black women misinterpret that message. Like, they misinterpret the talking points of the exoticals, because if we uplift our phenotypes, and we have to do that for our mental health, for our self-esteem. But if we uplift our own phenotypes, it's taken in a way that's misinterpreted as, well, your look is not exotic and your look is not beautiful. And that is not what we're saying. That's why it's best if you just point out which content creator said that, or who, where did you hear it from? Who made a video that said that? Because I don't really think that it's fair for you to just, honestly, I mean, I'm saying this with the utmost respect because I like you, but I don't think that it's fair for you to get that wrong, because I mean, you are a brown skinned, darker skinned woman. So because of that, all of our talking points are not going to resonate with you. You might not agree with everything, or be able to identify with everything, because we do have two different skin tones, two different phenotypes. Not you personally, but the dark-skinned Black women and the light-skinned women have different features. So it's going to be different experiences that come with that. And early on, when Chrissy first made her channel, she said she got death threats as well. And she also said that the reason why she made her channel to center around unambiguous dark-skinned Black women was the fact that was due to the fact that she got a lot of ridicule and vitriol from light-skinned women. And just like another content creator had pointed out, I believe when Exoticals United and Chrissy were beefing, I think it was Popeye's Chicken Be Dry, something like that. I don't know. But he pointed out that even though Chrissy said that her channel was made out of revenge and clapbacks and kind of like a response to the hate that she said she was getting from light-skinned women, he basically pointed out that where there are no videos, there are no clips, there are no memes, no lives or anything to corroborate the hate that light-skinned women gave unambiguous dark-skinned Black women. He was basically saying that, yeah, well, there's no lives, no videos of that happening. Show me the video, show me the proof. He said, but the exoticals can certainly pull up clips and memes and lives and commentary from the BWE spaces dissing light-skinned and mixed race biracial women. We have pulled up, at least Exoticals United has pulled up clips of BWE spaces talking about mixed race light-skinned women. So he was basically saying, well, there's no proof. However, there doesn't have to be proof. If you're dark skinned and you're saying that you suffer from colorism, that's enough. There doesn't have to be any proof to it, because we all come from the Black community. We all know that there is colorism that exists in the Black community, but we're not going to pretend that colorism only exists in the light-skinned part of the Black community. Let's not pretend like dark-skinned people don't get called African booty scratchers and nappy-headed and dark-skinned bees or whatever from other dark-skinned Black people. Let's not pretend like there are not dark-skinned women who tell their sons, don't bring home no Black chick home, like Kodak Black. Where did he get his talking points from? Kodak Black walks around telling people that I'm Black enough. I don't need no Black lady to come in my life and me to have a baby that's going to be Black as fuck or blacker than me or whatever. So where did he get that from? I mean, it sounds like he got it from his Black mama or his Black parents. And I'm not making excuses for it. I'm not making excuses for any light-skinned person out here that's making colorist conversations. I'm sorry. Colorist commentary. I'm not making excuses for that. I'm not trying to say that there's a benefit to colorism, and I don't think that that's what the exoticals are saying. I think what we are doing is we are uplifting our own, because we said from the start, at least Exoticals United has made it clear that we do not center unambiguous dark-skinned Black women. We talk about the beauty of unambiguous dark-skinned Black women. And this space is certainly inclusive to unambiguous dark-skinned Black women. We appreciate the beauty that they have, but it does not center them. It does not center unambiguous dark-skinned Black women. It centers ambiguous women, ambiguous Black women, Black biracial women, MGM women, mixed race women, and light-skinned women. Because we are ambiguous looking. We have a fluid identity. Even the darker skinned mixed race biracial women have a fluid identity. They have looser textured hair. They have features that are more, as you would call it, quote unquote, European looking. So the messages with the exotical space is for those women. It centers those women. So, Black women are always saying, well, go where you're celebrated. So we celebrate ourselves. So, of course, all of our talking points are not going to resonate with unambiguous dark-skinned Black women. It's not that we're saying that darker-skinned Black women are not exotic. We never said that. I don't know if any content creator that calls themselves an exotical has ever said that. And if they did, call them out. I mean, tell exactly where you heard it from. The video, the content creator pointed out. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the exoticals say. If we make our own spaces, if we pedestalize ourselves, if we celebrate ourselves, if we talk about our privileges, which is what dark-skinned Black women told us to do, acknowledge your privilege. So we do. You tell us that acknowledge that you benefit from colorism, when really they're talking about colorism in social situations where a dark-skinned Black man will buy a light-skinned woman a drink before they would a dark-skinned woman, or when people get prison sentences or something like that. But other than that, I don't know what other benefits to colorism or texturism or featureism that that the BWE spaces are talking about. So it just feels like unambiguous dark-skinned Black women are just never happy. It doesn't matter what we do, what we say, where we say it at on our own channels, in our own spaces. It seems like unambiguous dark-skinned Black women are just never happy, and we can never satisfy them, or what we say is never truly heard, or like people don't listen to us like in an objective kind of a way. It's like people are listening to us to try to find something we said that they can disagree with or call out or clap back at. And it's like, these are our experiences, this is what we go through, and nobody could just listen objectively just for their own personal information, just like with the BWE spaces. But the BWE spaces, to me, in my personal opinion, I think Chrissy's channel and Eloho and all those other spaces, Mayoa's World, I don't know, I don't listen to her stuff, but because her message doesn't resonate with me, and I wouldn't be welcome there anyway. And I really wish that people could just like listen to what we're saying without getting triggered, without getting upset with us, and just objectively listen and appreciate what the message is telling you, because it's just information. And that's all it is education, is information. This is me, this is how I look, and this is what I experienced with the same community that you come from. We come from the same community. So I just feel like it's just, I don't know, it's just very unfortunate that the miscommunication has to happen. But I mean, it happens sometimes, so the miscommunication is what prompted me to make this video. And I really feel like, personally, the BWE spaces kind of dropped the ball with that. They didn't fairly represent unambiguous Black women's experience with colorism fully, because they felt they had to take digs at light-skinned women. And I get it, they had bad experiences with light-skinned women, but I'm quite sure that there were other sides to it where they had bad experiences with each other as well, and they failed to call that out, and they just turned the whole colorism conversation into a light-skinned, biracial, woman-hating fest. But I just wonder why the onus is not on the BWE spaces to exemplify the exoticism of dark-skinned Black women. Why aren't they called out and asked to talk about how beautiful and exotic darker-skinned Black women are? Why is the onus on the lighter skin sector of YouTube? Why are the exoticals expected to uplift unambiguous dark-skinned Black women and center the exoticism of unambiguous dark-skinned Black women? And that's a very respectful question. I just want to know, because this space does not center unambiguous dark skin, but they're dark-skinned Black women, but there are a lot of spaces that do. Why is Chrissy's channel not considered to be a mess, quote unquote? Why isn't Eloho's channel and all these other BWE spaces considered to be not a quote unquote a mess? Why don't they get called out for all of the names that they called us? They have to uplift. It seemed like they were like having to uplift themselves by putting us down. I mean, the exotical space, we're not angels. Yeah, we do clap back and we do return energy. but it is nowhere near as bad as what the BWA spaces were calling us. They were calling us raw chickens, bananas, squawking birds, ugly. We aged like sour milk. We're raw chickens. We age fast. We're, got deflated afros, ramen noodle headed ass bitches. Why don't the Mademoiselle, the low hoes, why aren't they getting called out? Chrissy, why don't they get called out? I'm just curious, and I'm just asking a question. That is what I call a mess. That is what I call irresponsible rhetoric and basically starting shit. And even at the beginning of the video that Miss Rowan made, when she was talking about the lighter skinned woman being, saying that she was, happy to be considered beautiful, she didn't even mention anything about colorism, and she didn't dismiss the exoticism of darker skinned Black women. She just said that she appreciated being considered beautiful. That is all she said. And it's like when light skinned women appreciate our own beauty and our own phenotypes and how we look and our own body types and stuff, it's a problem. It's like you're not supposed to acknowledge your beauty. You're supposed to keep quiet about it. So I guess light-skinned women are just supposed to go sit down somewhere and be quiet and keep your experiences to yourself and not share them with other women that may benefit from it. It's dismissed. We're always being dismissed and always being invalidated and called basic, because I think you call mixed race women, light-skinned women, basic too in this video. I just think that it's just a little hypocritical for you to expect the exoticals to uplift and appreciate the beauty of unambiguous dark skin Black women while you sit up in the same video and call us basic. That was very rude and unfortunate. So I don't know, that's my rant. That's my response video. Kia Rowan, I just wanted to share that with you, so I hope that this clears up the miscommunication. I'm sorry that you took the exotical space and our talking points wrong. That is not what we are trying to convey. You can appreciate the beauty and the exoticism of unambiguous dark-skinned Black women without centering them. And the same goes for the other side. The BWE spaces can appreciate our beauty without centering us. And that's probably the best thing, just because we are on opposite ends of the spectrum. But that's my video. I want to go ahead and end it there. So I appreciate all of my subbies. I love you so much. Thank you so much for listening to my video. Kia Rowan, you're a great content creator. And like I said, breakdowns and miscommunications happen. So it's best that we just talk it out like women and exchange a fair and respectful exchange. So if I got any of this wrong, please feel free to reach out to me and let me know, because I don't want to misunderstand you either. But don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.